I was referring to documents related to construction. So one of the key documents that all carpenters should be competent in using is Australian Standards 1684, which is for timber frames. So I'm now showing one page, which and it's clause 6.2.3 talks of openings and specifically looking at lintels and jamstud. Also, carpenters should be able to use national construction codes. Now, I'll explain the process that I'm using when I train apprentices at Wisebuilder. So normally what we do, as I said, we refer to technical drawings. In this case it's transportable home. And then before we start constructing this particular home, we have a demonstration process in place. So we learn how to actually go from drawing to a miniature version of that home. In this case, for this particular exercise, I'll be looking at this middle section here. Specifically, I'll try to construct this timber frame, the window opening there. Let's see how we go. To construct this timber frame, we'll be using nail gun that use fuel and electrical batteries. So fuel for this nail gun, so it's the layout of the timber frame on the floor ground. So we need to kind of know how many pieces of wood and the length and the type of wood that we will be using. All of it is prescribed in the specifications and done according to Australian Standard 1684.4. Here's a sketch which shows how it's going to look like. So once we know how much timber we need, how it's going to look like, a good idea is to actually do the layout on the floor and then mark the lengths that we will need for this exercise. Once you mark the lengths, be ready for cutting. So, and for this particular exercise, we'll use my track compound saw. It's a very useful tool, easy to use, easy to operate. Bring the saw down, and then we proceed with the operation. Down. So as we progress with cutting, we'll take pieces of the cut to length back to the assembly area. So we'll take all pieces back to the assembly area. And then once all pieces are fully cut, then we'll continue with the next part in this process, which is really putting the timber frame together. As I mentioned before, for this particular demonstration, we'll be using this rail guard here. I'll explain in more detail how it's used once we actually start with the assembly of the timber frame. But really what's important to acknowledge that this is, as I was explaining before, so that is a section where you put the fuel in. In this case we are using butane gas. We need to be very careful. So you need to hear the sound like that. And if there is no sound like that, it means that the nail gun is not engaged and it's not going to fire. So in this case it should fire, so we'll test it. So the depth is okay. So fire one more gun, the muzzle now. So now if we try this side here. So we hold A frame, apply the force and fire. Then the second. Right, so that should be. All right. We are making some progress. So I've just completed the second timber frame. So it's all in place. So bottom plate, all studs, then noggings, all blocking, and then top plate. So it's all done. It's actually relatively simple to do things like that. Just a matter of having the right tools and material. It's not even time consuming. So that's the second timber frame completed. What I'll do now, I'll take this timber frame, put it away, just there for the moment being, and then I'll complete the second timber frame and carry on with the flooring system. Before I started working this morning, I actually did a bit of sketching here. Nothing high tech, but remember, as I was saying yesterday, we need to follow Australian standards, specifically AS 1684.4, but also we need to follow job specifications and working drawings. But it also helps to do a bit of sketching like that, so we visualize exactly what we are constructing on a day. So it's timber frame 2 completed. We'll carry on with timber frame 3. And I did a bit of hand sketching of the flooring system. So it's top view down there. So it will have 3 walls, and I've illustrated where bedders and joists will go, and spacing between bedders and joists. Again, nothing too complex. So it's the simple drawing. So the tools, it's all good. I'll put the camera back and then I'll continue with the third timber frame. Look at this third frame a little bit more. Again, it's a bit difficult to record and show the details, but if you come to this side of the timber frame, so you'll see that at the very end there are 2 studs side by side. Now the reason why we have 2 studs here is this timber frame, third one that I've just constructed, it's actually part of a bigger timber frame that goes across the whole house. And at this point where we have two studs, that's actually a door opening. So that stud on the outside is actually called James stud. It's part of the door opening. I think that's very simple kind of thing to construct. You've got blocking here. Yeah, that's again a sign that there'll be a wall or partition that will connect to that part of the wall. Something important to observe is that I'm not sure if I can illustrate, but these frames are rather flexible because there is no bracing in place. So bracing is something that we will look at later. Again, it's regulated in the Australian Standard 1684.4. But before we put in bracing, we need to ensure that all timber frames are properly squared. All right, so those are the timber frames that I've just constructed today. So we'll continue now with a flooring system using bears and joists. So it's all finished. So bears are in place, joists are in place. Now the old tunnels on the top fixed according to Australian standards. I have pre-marked positions for individual timber frames, which I will install in a second. I put on the sides some temporary bracing for individual timber frames so that they're top low, and the back timber frame will go against the wall to give it that lateral support so it doesn't topple. So the order for installation of timber frames is starting from left, back, right. We'll pin it down. We'll attach it to temporary bracing, and then this exercise is finished. What I'll also demonstrate once the timber frame is up, I'll show something that's called bracing and how it can be installed if the timber frame is big enough to satisfy Australian standards. So stable now says I'll attach the bottom plates to the subfloor structure because it's well positioned. top of the timber frames, and then using gang nails connect timber frames into single structure. And if you don't do any work at that level, where you need to work from top down, that's where the scaffolding really kicks in as a tool of choice, rather than using step ladders. But just a couple more things regarding timber frames. So there are different types of bracing that we can use stabilize individual timber frames. So here are some rules. Can I just, so is it visible now? Yeah, like that, yeah. Okay, so that image there. Okay, that image shows one example of bracing that can be used to fasten or stabilize individual timber frames. Now, there are some conditions related to this particular type of bracing. If we are lucky enough, we should be able to say that the width of individual timber frames minimum is 1,800, maximum 2,700, and the angle for metal steps that we install cannot be lower than 30 and cannot exceed 60. Otherwise, as you install metal braces, you need to do notching or install the metal brace into the timber frame, and there is just a particular height at which you can do notching. You can't go below. Now, in this case, I do have a couple of metal strips just to illustrate how it all works. But in our case, we can't actually use it because our timber frames do not satisfy criteria, because this is not 1.8, so it's too narrow, so the angle will be too steep, so the angle will be meters, so you can plug it there, you can plug it here, because the width of each of these is greater than 900 millimeters. So that's regarding permanent bracing, that's not temporary bracing. So I'll just bring this scaffolding into position to illustrate how it can be used. And then that will be the end of the demonstration sessions for today. As I was explaining, so we lock this in, so it can't move. So that was this tomorrow, so it's the last step in the process. So we go on the scaffolding should be close enough to this. I keep it apart so I keep it close. So we go on the top, and in that corner, we need to install gang nails, and the same applies to this corner, go around on the top, put it down. I've got examples of gang nails. I think. Still here. Yes, so this is the stuff that I was describing. So, gang nail, yeah, just like a metal plate. So it goes on the top, like that. And one side goes in one timber frame, the other one in the other timber frame. Yeah, just like that. And it holds it together. And it doesn't allow it to go.